Hi, my name's Tricia and I wanted to introduce you to my husband, Randall. This is really Randall's story and in time our story of how he went from having years of experience but not a piece of paper or letters behind his name to having 3 qualifications through a process called recognition of prior learning. It's one of those processes that remains a big secret really in the training industry, and our experience with it has meant that we've created a system and a process that has let us tap into that secret and share that with thousands of Australians and who've attained thousands of qualifications. But the story really starts with Randall and his experience of how he came to be seeking some sort of recognition, so I'll let him tell that story.
So my story was I had 16 years experience as a member of the Queensland Police Service when I medically retired back in 2005. And at that time I had a wealth of experience, 16 years. I'd managed teams, there was leadership experience, there was budgets, there was all the different
There was all the things that police do every day in talking to complicated people in complicated situations and churning it through a system that's got a legal system and a social system. And my goodness, if there's not skills built up there, there's not skills anywhere.
Whilst I'd completed courses whilst I was in the police, which were internal qualifications and courses, they really meant nothing in the outside world. They were there to get me promoted when I was in the police. Having stepped out of that environment, I found all of a sudden that I had no formal qualifications. And I started to look into a process which at that stage was foreign to me, and it was called recognition of prior learning.
Well, what happened was, after 16 years, Randall had to medically retire. And that left us as a family with that circumstance that other people have encountered too, what to do next. And I came across Randall circling the job ads. You remember when the job ads weren't online in Seek, they were in the newspaper? And I found him circling ads and I looked at them and realised they were for ads for things that he could do standing on his head. And I said to him, what are you doing? And he said, well, that's all I've got the piece of paper to prove is I can carry a gun on my hip and I've got my licence, but I
just want to interrupt you because I'm remembering back now, so as what was a few years ago, every one of those ads said minimum requirement certificate, something or other, minimum requirement diploma, something or other. I didn't have any of those, but I had all this experience, and it was a real, I can't apply for this job, but I know I could get it.
And truthfully, it was gut-wrenching because we were much like every other family. We had a mortgage and we had kids and we had to figure out our way through. And so we came to an agreement that night because it was a tough stage to go through. And the agreement was that Randall would go and see a career counsellor. And truthfully, what we were hoping for was that the career counsellor would say that when you grow up, you will be, and just tell us what to do. But he didn't. No,
he didn't. But what he did do was point me in the right direction, which was I should go and find myself a registered training organisation, or commonly known as a private TAFE, to get my skills recognised and some qualifications issued. Now, as I mentioned before, it was a daunting process. I recall jumping online and typing in recognition of prior learning, and I saw these applications that were 300 pages, and I looked at it and went,
they're amazing.
This is too hard, I may as well do the course.
We've seen the ones that the government puts together and they're literally hundreds of pages long. But we were at that point that we had to try and find a solution. And so for us, the paperwork was ridiculously complicated. And let's not mince our words. I was a lawyer. Randall being in the police, we had both spent years with complicated paperwork and complicated processes and jargon, but when we walked into this sector, the training education sector, and you started to try and talk about having your skills recognised, we were floored by how much was involved and how much paperwork and how confusing and how much jargon and how no one wanted to really talk to us about recognition of prior learning as a valid assessment tool, even though it is, as a way of getting your experience recognised. Until Randall stumbled across a training organisation on the Gold Coast, and it was a pretty big one, remember? And it had been running for some time, and so you got the kit.
Pulled it apart, had a look at it, worked out...
Realised it was ridiculously complex.
But took some time, and I really did pull it apart and looked at how I could put my experience into this kit and then present myself at their board meeting.
Well, this is what we had really been about, was that our careers had been about, if you can imagine being a police officer and then I would prosecute, is that you'd find a situation and you'd have to pull it apart and make sure it matched, legal provisions, laws and regulations and standards, and then take it to a jury. So when it came to pulling apart situations and finding our way through complicated paperwork, that was what we were on about.
I remember when I finally got the kit completed to the standard that I thought would be successful, I went along to this meeting and hoping to get a qualification. Now, after I had the meeting, I walked away with 3 diploma qualifications. That was
that was a fantastic moment.
It was. It was amazing because all I thought was I would be lucky to get a qualification.
Yeah. But the real fun came about afterwards.
It did.
Because Randall, I remember waving Randall off that day, and he literally went with a box full of paperwork and how he had mapped it across. This was not a small endeavour. This was like worse than accountants at tax time sort of idea. And I got the phone call afterwards on the way out, you know, when you ring back to say, I didn't just get 1 qualification, I got 3. But even better than that was what the gentleman who was the general manager, who was basically the person that ran this trainee organisation, this very large Australian trainee organisation, and he stopped Randall and he said one thing to him. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, he said, this is amazing. And I'm I'm amazed that I had these qualifications. So anything was amazing to me at that time. But he said, what you've actually done here is amazing. You've pulled apart the recognition of prior learning process. You've simplified it. You've put it into a format that we can look at and recognise.
And he said, no one knows how to do this.
That's right. And why don't you go and help other people by doing exactly this? Well, that's when I jumped on the phone to Tricia and said, what do you think about this? We can help other people navigate this minefield of recognition of prior learning.
And that's what we've done. And we've taken it as a fantastic way to give back. You know, we've been at that point. We understand what it feels like to be facing a career transition. We understand what it feels like to be facing that I need to progress, but I'm caught because I don't have those pieces of paper. But we also understand how frustrating that is to have all those years of experience and to not be eligible for the job simply because you can't tick that box that says you have that piece of paper, that qualification to your name. So what we set about doing and what we've loved doing for the whole 7 years we've been doing it is that we set about creating a very simple process for other people who find themselves in our situation to have their skills recognised and translated and to be issued with a nationally recognised qualification and take that and soar. Go climb that ladder and get that job or transition your career. And we've been so proud to gather around us a team of all of our team have been through this exact experience. They all understand what it feels like to find yourself needing that piece of paper and to think to yourself, but I've got so much experience.
Recognition of prior learning is a legitimate process.
Well, it is. It's just that the training industry likes to keep it a little secret because for their perspective, more money, more bums on seats. So from our perspective, we look at it and go, let's have a situation where people can have access to a nationally recognised qualification and being assessed on the experience they bring to the table. And that's what we've done. And we've done it for the last 7 years. And we've loved the fact that Randall's story, leading to what we'd hoped for would be 1 single qualification to walk out that day when he walked out with 3. But since then we've had the opportunity through our own registered training organisation to issue thousands of nationally recognised qualifications. And even better, we love hearing the stories that come back through of people that have gone on and got the job that they were chasing and got the promotion and got the pay rise and taken their family on to that place that they wanted them to be. And for us, that's what it continues to be about, and we love it. And for us, it's also a case of, you know, we're always available to talk to other people who find themselves in a situation we did.
Yeah, I'd encourage you to go onto our website to look at some of the testimonials. They're real life people, like myself, who's been able to use their skills to get qualifications that have taken them further. Our website is www.churchilleducation.edu.au, or if you want to talk to me or one of the team, our number is 1300 793 002.
Give us a call, we'd love to have a chat, but more importantly, we'd love to hear about your experience and where you see that taking you. Thanks, we'll catch up with you soon.